Okay, good morning. I think we'll get started. So thanks for choosing our session today. Just so you know, we are recording this session. It's also being live streamed. So we do have some remote viewers that will hopefully participate while watching and maybe get some Twitter action as well. So just by way of some introductions, my name is Mark Carbone. I'm currently serves the Chief Information Officer for the Waterloo Region District School Board, and it's certainly been my pleasure to be involved in a lot of different technology projects, but we're very excited about what we're doing in Google. Just a little bit about me. It's an interesting time in my life wearing a few different hats, so I currently do serve as the ACRO President, and we have the WIT 14 conference coming up in just a month or so, and I also do some work on ministry committees involved with the OSACA software licensing group and the OSAMU Build Your Online Capacity group. So life is full and rich and very exciting for me.
And I'm Bieronski. I'm a secondary teacher and Kitchener at York Heights. Working for NASA. When I'm not in the classroom, I work as an EdTech consultant through WRDSB, which is a startup incubator at KW, especially in the EdTech space. We've got some really good ones in there. Areas like Plan Board, Kansana, I'll work through them actually this presentation. And I had the pleasure to start up TEDx Kitchener this past year. It was fantastic. The first one, the annual thing. So that was a lot of fun taking an educational perspective from TED. And so today I'll be focusing on my experience in the classroom. So to Mark, start off here.
Great, thanks. So I just wanted to take a bit of time here at the beginning to talk about perspective. These are things that we're actively talking about in our school board because we feel this thinking and these kind of discussions are really important in our planning and how we move forward. So from an IT perspective, one of the things that we do is follow some of the big ed tech companies, Gartner, Infotech, some very major research sources, and they've identified these 5 elements: mobility, security, and I'll say security/privacy, cloud computing, social media, and big data as the big 5. These are forces that are going to shape what the future looks like, whether we want them to or not. And so we have some interesting thinking and perspectives to develop in the educational space around how do we leverage these, how do we use these things that are not going to go away to our advantage in K-12 education. And if you put that lens on things, I think it puts an interesting perspective on things, because these things, if you think about it, are all things that are tied to ministry initiatives around communicating and connecting, collaborating. Those are things that are woven through the big 5. And so I think these are really important ideas. So we're trying to afford ourselves the luxury of talking and thinking and experimenting about these elements as we plan our way forward. Now I do need to say up front that we're, just like every other school board, kind of working through a transformation process. And we think we know what our end game is, but I just want to talk to you a little bit about the approach that we're taking. One of the things that we have valued from an IT working with our learning services department is supporting student learning is the element of choice. And so as we're looking at how we go forward with mobile, one of the concepts that we've introduced and sort of coined the phrase the sliders model is a process to help schools plan. So in our school board, we're supporting lots of kinds of mobile technology. So we have Windows netbooks, we have iPads, we have Chromebooks, and we have Bring Your Own. So there's lots of choices in terms of how schools can go forward. And so the sliders model is something that we're working through now. We're a year into it, and basically the idea behind it is, as we look at the computer inventory in a particular school, and we identify what's up for replacement next, we're actually saying, okay, I'll make up an example. Let's say we're replacing 15 desktops. We're asking the schools not to replace 15 desktops with 15 desktops. We're saying we want you to shift to mobile, but we want you to have choice. So as we sliders model, what kind of choices will you make? So we're pushing on people a little bit to maybe try and think about going to the 50% step right away, but still putting that element of choice in it. Our goal, of course, is to get much farther past that. We do recognize in the change process that there are some things that are beneficial. And I think the thing that I've learned the most in not only talking with other IT professionals, but networking with teachers, working closely with people like Andrew who can provide a lot of feedback about what's happening on the ground in the classroom. In some ways, it's all about the easy button. The harder it is, the less synergy and the less traction. And that means letting go of some traditional IT thinking. That has to be part of the change. It's not all about changing teachers and changing learning. It's about changing IT as well. That has to be part of the school board culture. And so we've been talking about the easy button, impact, synergy. The easier something is, the safer it is for somebody to feel like they can dip their toes into this ed tech space, the more traction you get. We've recognized that the role of choice for teachers plays an important part in interest, and interest leads to participation and synergy. So that's an important element. The other thing that we really believe in as we've rolled out changes in our system, and I can think back 4 or 5 years ago when we started opening up access to social media sites, deploying our Wi-Fi solution, introducing mobile into the schools. One of the things that we did that I think has helped our school board was to not start in pocketed ways. So for example, we felt it was really important to start conversations in every school at the same time. So when we deployed our initial Wi-Fi hotspots, we declared that as an IT standard. Every school was in, everybody got a hotspot. So all schools were starting to experience that. Every school got a base allocation of initial mobile devices. iPads in our case was where we started. But again, we wanted schools to start those conversations so that as I talk to people in other schools, they're sharing those same experiences. We're sharing our learning right out of the gate. It wasn't just focused on 1 or 2 schools. And so that idea is playing out well for us, and we try to put that sort of system thinking approach into all of the work that we do. Something else that's new, we're just about to actually embark on this in our school board this fall, is to actually start setting some targets. So we've been working on some ideas and trying to come up with a slogan, and I think this is the one we're actually going to go live with shortly. And that's the idea of 75 in 5. So the kinds of things that we're talking about right now are what things can we do 75% of in 5 years? So, for example, can we reduce our paper consumption by 75% over 5 years? Can we reduce, therefore, the number of printers in our system by 75% over 5 years? Can we, and you start filling in the blanks, can we change our whole computer fleet to 75% mobile, 25% desktop as a target over 5 years? Can we have 75% of teachers using the blended learning model? I mean, there's all kinds of blanks and staples that you could consider putting in there, but we're hoping that some of the easier things like the paper and the printing will be a front end to a much greater transformation within our school board. So we're interested to see how this works out. We're happy with the slogan and the notion, and we think it will get some traction, so stay tuned for more on that. This slide is actually kind of an interesting one. Andrew and I just stumbled across it in one of our prep sessions. The whole notion of one-to-one is so 2010. That's like ancient in IT terms. And so we had a lot of fun kind of debating what does that actually mean. And so maybe there's other ratios that are more important. And so we put 2 to 1 and 3 to 1 is better on the slide, knowing that you could probably interpret that in 2 ways. One way of interpreting that is, like me, you might have a device or 2. You never know how many devices you have. And is that typical of our students? Will they, in a standard way of operating, might they just, by default, enjoy using different tools, choosing the best tool for the best learning? Whether it's their phone in some cases, a laptop in another case, a tablet in another case. That's one way of looking at that. The other thing that's really interesting is playing out in our school board is, as we talk to teachers, they're telling us feedback that indicates when students are one-to-one on devices, they actually interact with each other less. So all the things that we know about student learning, communicating, collaborating, and so on, if you don't do that well in all the aspects of it, the devices could actually get in the way. And so that to me underscores just the importance of people that are the learning experts in IT have to work hand in hand. That's so powerful. And when we stumbled on this, one-to-one is so 2010 thinking, we felt that we really needed to share that idea and the two aspects of it in our presentation today. So I just want to touch on a couple of things, again, some important messaging that we're talking about in our board. I mentioned this idea of standards. As we go forward with Wi-Fi and mobile, and it doesn't matter, Chromebooks, iPads, whatever, we want that system thinking in place as we go forward. We are actively talking about the models. TEL is our abbreviation for technology-enabled learning. And we think that's a really nice phrase because it leads to other more documented things like the SAMR model, where you're considering, are you using technology at what level? Substitution, or are you doing something transformative? Redefinition level. And so those are important notions, and we're challenging people to take things like the SAMR model and use them as a growth tool. In other words, does that become a way of operating? That I plan, act, assess, and reflect on what I'm doing. Am I on a cycle of continuous improvement? So that's part of our thinking in there. It's all about the possibilities, and we have to have some play, and peer learning is a part of that. So, what's worked for us? We had some really good things, I think, that happened at the beginning. I do have to tell you a little quick story about my check mark. All of the check mark graphic things that I found online that I really liked were all copyrighted. So I drew one on my whiteboard, photographed it. So that's my character check mark. That's mine. It's copyrighted. So a couple things that really worked for us. Right out of the gate when we registered our Google Apps domain, we wanted, again, press the easy button. We didn't want to start out with an account management nightmare. So we actually took the time right now to, right at the beginning, get it so it tied in with Active Directory. One login for students. Again, it makes it easy. That was important for us. We did what we called the Chromebook tour. Our information technology consultant, Harry Neeson, did a great job actually booking appointments in schools. We took Chromebooks to the schools and actually had hands-on, touch them, try it, do it, come to our sessions, and he toured through all the secondary schools at the beginning of last year. And that really enticed people's interest. It's the synergy, it's the interest in that was there. So that was really interesting. So just some quick stats to show the traction. For us, after the first year, which was secondary schools in September, elementary schools kind of folded in over the year, what we were seeing was over half of our students logged into our Google domain at least once. We were closing in on 20% logging in daily. So those are pretty good stats. By the end of last year, we had about 320,000 files stored online, and we just see it growing. So those are some good traction there. Considerations and lessons learned. Some very interesting things. Of course, from an IT perspective, bandwidth requirements, the distribution of your access points in your Wi-Fi network, all of those things are really critical to try and stay ahead of the curve. It's kind of the IT version of building enough lanes on the 401 before it gets plugged. It really does come down to that. And even though I think we've done a good job being proactive and planning, it hasn't always worked out perfect. Technology keeps changing. And so we've had some bumps with Wi-Fi drivers on devices all of a sudden not working and needing updating. And as we keep updating our Wi-Fi system code, sometimes that causes a little bit of a backlash and things. So it's keeping our department in troubleshooting mode, but it's keeping us also very focused on servicing student learning. And so that's a good thing. One of the interesting things that we didn't really anticipate was the idea of the impact of timetabling. And it just happened in a small number of our schools last fall that just the way the timetable rolled out, all of a sudden we had heavy Wi-Fi use where we didn't have enough access points. And it was just a coincidence of who was teaching what when and being in a tighter space. And so we were in a little bit of a reactive mode there. Again, hard to predict, but we're trying to have more open dialogue with schools, anticipating those kinds of things now. Name changes, this is one that came up this year. We had some staff that got married, old name changed to my new name. Well, what we discovered sort of in retrospect was if you actually don't coordinate that process with HR, people lose access to their files. And so we're putting those processes in place right now. SPOF is my acronym for single point of failure. That's something that the technical folks have to think about. You know, we had a little issue one weekend with the login page to our Google Apps, and the number of emails, tweets, Facebook messages that I got showed me how important it was to really be thinking about 24/7 access to things. And so that was good. And the bottom line is for everybody involved, IT staff, teachers, administrators using Google Apps, share. Keep putting out there what you're doing. Make sure you tell people. Log it, demonstrate it, staff meetings, wherever you get a chance to nurture other people. I think that's really important to you. So I thought I'd pause right there. If you have any questions that sort of pertain to this part of our presentation, I'd be happy to address them now, and then I'll turn things over to Andrew. Yes?
One quick one, just we're kind of in the infancy of our deployment. For Active Directory, what single sign-on did you guys utilize?
We settled on SSO Easy, and that worked very well for us. And the guys got it up and running and tested in a pretty short order. I think Graham is using that solution as well. It's really fancy.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, Andrew, I guess we're on to you.
I look at our presentation, it's always interesting that we start off with the CIO of our school board, talking about the mid-standpoints, how they're thinking, and you come down to, not to say the bottom level, but a teacher in the classroom talking about their experience. And it seems, at first glance, it seems like, oh, is that going to work? That seems kind of strange, but I really like it. I think it's really important, because I think there's oftentimes when I'm talking to teachers, when I talk to IT people, there often seems to be a disconnect. There's this gap in the middle between the two of them, and I think that working back and forth, that communication is really important. Because when I talk to IT people, what they see as being the issues, or sometimes what I see as being the issue from my classroom, and back and forth. So I really like any opportunity to do this with Mark, and just kind of show that connection, how important it can be, and having understanding for each other. So focus for me then is like how does this play in the classroom, kind of taking what Mark's highlighting the big issues from the talk, and then how it looks for me in my class. I started with Google probably about 2.5 years ago, and at that point I was a secondary teacher, and I was kind of asking my students, like, I would like you guys to create an account. There's a whole issue around that as well, and then using it that way. I was fortunate to have this test platform both last year, and now every teacher in our student board has a Google Classroom application account. It's been absolutely fantastic. I can't say enough good things about how it's transformed my classroom. And one thing I was surprised as a teacher when we talk about like good pedagogy and what really works in the classroom. The theories, like the stuff I use, like in the 50s and 60s and 70s, it's been around for a long time. It was just never practical before. We talk about differentiation, individual instruction, personalization. That's been around. We've known that's been good practice for a long time. When you've got a class of 30 students, that's not easy to do. It's very difficult. You can't find the time in the day. GAFE has been really an eye-opener for me. It's really transformed my practice because I'm starting to get at what I've known as good pedagogy, but finding time in the day to do it and finding easy ways to get there. So, why Google Apps for Education? And again, we start off with form, and I love starting off some of my classes that way. It just gives me an idea, and we talk about personalization. I've got an idea of my audience. I've got a few classroom teachers, I've got some IT people, I've got some people who work in support roles for teachers, and kind of see what your experience with GAFE is, and kind of personalize this presentation towards the responses as well. So, being free and online, cross-platform, and multi-device is so important to me. I ran an issue for a long time. Early on, jump online, I have a website, I have my stuff up as a PDF or a Word file, and I want my kids to do homework. If they don't have Microsoft Office at home, that's no use to them. They got a PC, if they got Mac at home, they only have Pages, they're stuck. They can't download, they can't open it, they can't use it. Multi-device, again, we've had a big, if you think back just 3 or 4 years ago, how hard it was to do something on a cell phone, it was completely impractical. Today, I actually really like working on my phone, while my students are more comfortable on their phone. By going GAFE and working on any device, any style, it doesn't matter. Having things in the cloud is so fantastic for my students. They can jump on a Chromebook in my classroom, they can start working on something. We're an MSIP school, which means our students get 1 period a day to focus on all their subjects and just in class. They can pull out their phone right there and pick up Open Lab and pick up where they left off on a different device in their class. It's not the old style emailing back and forth. When it comes to collaboration, I've got students, like they've told me, they're working together from different ends of the CAF during lunch hour, looking at their document and seeing what the other students are doing, looking through their project. Taking things into the cloud and have your students access that way has been transformed for me and my students in a lot of different ways. Again, that access. I want to talk about some examples of how I've done it. When I first jumped in, this was actually my first experience using Google Docs in the classroom with my students. I like to show this as like my first step in. It was about 2.5 years ago. And just the basic idea of looking at writing and how this was really a transformative practice for me, a change for me. So I'm just going to jump in here. I'm actually jump out this first step and just show you an example. So this is the first time I jumped in with this. I changed a lot and updated how I do this a lot, but I like showing my first time because it kind of shows the evolution, how it's gone. So, basic simple paragraph, grade 10, students looking at To Kill a Mockingbird, writing a paragraph on it. Okay, those are some tools I got there. Usually for me, for this, like I'd be one piece of paper, so you'd be carrying around, there'd be scribbles all over the place, and like after I get to about my 10th or 15th paragraph, my handwriting is getting a little more illegible. So I'd be circles, I'd be arrows all over the place, and usually handing back to my students. I'm looking at them like, okay, I've got everything I want to say on here, but I'm like thinking, putting myself in the roles of a student, and they're like probably looking at this movie, what the heck is this? They got arrows all over the place, and it's really, I mean, they could pick it out, but it was not simple and easy. Whereas then to shift to this, got comments down the side, things are highlighted. You click on a highlight, that comment just jumps out at you. Okay. Shared with multiple people. So this is her shared with the peer editor as well. I can check the peer editing process. What recommendations are we making? Again, from that standpoint of student looking at someone else's work, that metacognitive side of thinking about your own thinking, seeing that reflection, it's very simple. So you see something highlighted, it's, oh, that's something that someone's commented on for me. Click on it, and that box jumps out. You can also have conversations that way. So just between her and her peer editor. I'm trying to find one down here. Something happened with double space here. The formatting was a little off. Okay, and it says it's back in the way, and I see this problem here pop out. There's another one that had a conversation where she didn't really understand what she was asking for. So as here as well, we took an earlier comment, and she's like, what do you mean by that? I've had conversations back and forth with my students this way. I've always thought the idea of having time to sit down one-on-one and talk to your students is the best way to work through a problem, but I can't do that with a class of 30 students in an hour. Okay, this on my prep, quick time at lunch, stop off somewhere having a coffee, I can just pop on, see where they're at, see questions from my students, respond back very quickly, and have that access set aside for that personalization. And the other feature I truly love about this is see revision history, just kind of, who's used revision history before? Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic tool. So now I can get back and look at the evolution. So I like showing this one. I'm going to go back to an early start here. I stand before the class, I do my lesson, here's my expectations for you, here's my learning goals, here's my success criteria, this is where I want you to go. And then my student steps up and this is the work they produce. And I can kind of say, okay, for me this is massive fail for me, okay? I did my lesson and this is what they produce, and like, okay, I really screwed up somewhere because clearly I didn't get across to them and they're missing things. What's really cool about this is I get to kind of track, and so do they, the feedback over time, and I can look at the evolution of my students' learning. It's actually kind of a gateway into their mind. What are they getting? What are they not? Are they using the feedback I give them? Okay. My traditional model, again, that piece of paper was me writing on it, giving it back. The student looks at it, they throw it in the recycling bin on their way out, look at the marking, look at the comments, and then it's done. And then, again, traditional practice as an English teacher, for example, I'm going to do 4 paragraphs throughout the term. So I've got one in September, and I give another one midway October. I'm expecting them to go back, think about what they did back in September, remember the comments I gave you, that sheet's gone. They've got this for their digital lives now. For grade 10, grade 11, grade 12, they get into grade 12, they're looking at their English essay, they can look back at all the feedback we've had from teachers from grade 9, grade 10, grade 11, grade 12. Also having that digital portfolio from a teacher's standpoint. Are my students making the same mistakes they're making in grade 9 and grade 10, or have they shown that improvement? So it's really cool. So the feedback here, I can just kind of track the evolution of her writing. Okay, I'm going to back first and say, all right, it's not an MLA, she doesn't indent, it's not double space, there's information that she's missing of the basics that I taught, but as I kind of click through this, I can see how it's evolving over time. I can go back and look at the comments she's giving, and is she updating that? I can see where things are popping in until I get to, again, that most recent version. If I close revision history here, and I can see that evolution and where she ended up. Okay, that's just like, this was so transformative for me. I've done a lot of different things with this since, but it's really fantastic. It's great for my students. I have students coming back to me, telling me they're looking at the comments I gave before, and they're using that when they're doing their science now. And this kind of leads into this idea of anytime, anywhere learning. It's something, I've been a teacher in the Futures Forum project in the WRDSB. It's been running, this is the 5th year it's been running now. It's a fantastic project where a group of teachers got a lot of support from the board, from technology and time. And the idea behind it was one teacher in each school from all the high schools across the board. It was cross-curricular, so it was grade 10 English and then civics and careers. We got the same group of students for 2 periods. I was always at the start of the day to start off. And the idea was breaking down classroom walls and having our students connect online and not just being tied to 25 kids in their class, and for teachers too. So there's a whole bunch of things that came out of it. I don't want to spend too much time on that, but what kind of came out of this is this idea that we talk about in Futures Forum a lot, was this idea of anytime, anywhere learning. You're not just stuck to that 60 minutes or 75 minutes a day in your class, for you as a teacher and for the students as well. Taking it online is that it wasn't tied to a classroom. We used to have writing folders, like you do your work, you throw the writing folder and leave it there for the day, you come back the next day. And then for that students, and that was cool from a teaching standpoint, I'm not worried about my students losing their stuff, and I know where the work's being done, but now they have access at any time. And revision history again, I mean, sometimes I'm actually on there just checking their stuff and leaving some comments from a formative standpoint at 11 p.m. and I see my student jump on. I've actually had a quick conversation, they had a quick question for me, and here I am talking at 11 p.m. at night with my students very quickly, helping them out. And for them, it's really cool too to come back and say, like, hey, I can't believe you helped me out at 11 p.m. I was like, just had to be on, it's cool, don't worry about it. One experience, kind of just talking to Google Apps then. Last year with a grade 4 teacher in Waterloo, I teach in Kitchener, we actually sat down at another conference, I'm trying to remember, I was in London a couple years ago. We were talking, our board was just going Google Apps for education. Like, it'd be really cool to collaborate in some ways. It's such a great tool, such a collaboration piece. We should do something together. And we said, yeah, that sounds great. And then so we started talking back and forth through email for a month or two. So I'm like, what could we do? So she's a grade 4 teacher, and I got grade 10 was the point. And we started to my grade 10 students, mentor them through her grade 4s through this summit project they were doing. And GAFE just made this so easy for us. So what she decided, her grade 4s for their social studies project, they've been doing ancient history and some different parts, so Greece, the pyramids, the Egyptians, and all throughout time. And so they were in small groups, and they picked a topic, and then they were going to put on a museum. Okay, so they worked for a month. They had to actually build a physical structure, do research through this. They had to write a report, do an oral piece for it, and build this actual structure. And so what she did, she gave us a basic outline of what her students need to complete. She gave that to my grade 10s. And for my grade 10s, from a curriculum standpoint, I had them for civics and for English. So part of civics is the idea of being an active citizen and making a change in your community. So they're going to take on this role of mentoring these grade 4s through the project. And then from the English side, they're helping them with their oral communication skills. They were correcting their writing. They shared Google Docs back and forth between my grade 10s and her grade 4s. And it was a really fantastic experience. So I'm going to show you some examples of kind of stuff that came out of this. So, for example, this is my grade 10 applied kids. The first one is one group, and again, giving the ideas some choice for them, for instance, how they want to get there. So my grade 10 applied students here, one of them built a website. Okay, it's like, here it is, this is what you're going to be working on. We got the idea from the grade 4s that they were building a pyramid, so they came here and built this. So we got a little about us section here, and this is again for her grade 4 students. They're going to this website, getting this communication, and getting mentored by these grade 10 students. So here are my guys introducing themselves, and they broke it down week by week. So here's week 1, this is what we want you to complete. Allison's grade 4 students would jump on here, see the instructions, and work through this, and then they were collaborating back and forth. I'll show you examples of using Google Hangouts, Google Docs, various items to get there. Another group decided to put a Google presentation together. Again, showing the breakdown here of how they went about that, introducing my grade 10s, introduce themselves again to the grade 4s, what they're planning to go for it, breaking down those steps week by week for what they're supposed to do, goals and kind of due dates. They were actually building graphic organizers for the grade 4 students. It was a really cool project. The engagement was absolutely fantastic. Part of the Futures Forum, I remember this really stands out to me, part of the Futures Forum project is we got some release time from the board for teachers to go to other teachers' classrooms and see how things were working. So the new teacher was doing it for the first time this year, and he had a grade 10 applied class too. And he came into my day, it was like the first day we were starting this project, and like my grade 10 applied kids, if you've done grade 10 applied, it can be pretty interesting classes sometimes. And this teacher's in my classroom for about an hour and a half, and he just kind of looks at me and he's like, are they always this engaged? Like you hear a pin drop, there's like typewriting that appears, they're so like, no, they're never like this. But you can see like the value of the project. And one thing we talk about a lot is the idea of authenticity. When you give your students authentic pieces that has absolutely actual meaning as opposed to just handing in a mark, the engagement level changes dramatically. And that was definitely my experience. And again, GAFE made this so simple. I've had ideas like this before. GAFE is really just making it and doing the implementation process to do it. One way to try this too is Google Hangouts. I'm just curious about Google again, use Google Hangouts in the classroom. I know teachers using Hangouts in the classroom at all. Really fantastic tool. I'm also an e-learning teacher right now. And it's a fantastic tool. Actually, you might even see a pop-up, a little dialogue box from one of my e-learning students pop up. I get them through all the time, just kind of here about the Hangouts extension. I just get little messages pop on my screen anytime they want to contact me. And again, I always tell them, I'm not just there 24/7 for you, and I'm not necessarily, if I'm doing something, I may not respond. My wife knows I go out for dinner sometimes, and I look and pull my phone for a second, it's like, oh, it's sad. She's like, what are you doing? Like, just having one of my kids a question. And sometimes I gotta ignore and tell the guys too, like, just so you guys know, I'm not always gonna be answering, but I love it. It's easy access for them. I'm happy to do that for them. It's like, hey, sometimes you might not hear back from me for 12 hours or 14 hours, but I'll do the best I can to get back for you. And sometimes, but a lot of times it gives them the chance to get an immediate response. When they're there on their time working their projects, I've got a grade 12 college e-learning course right now. I've got 3 or 4 students who just had kids and deal with that. I've got a few students who are doing co-op and working full time. For them, when they are in class, they might not be able to attend commitments. And again, I'm not necessarily there on call for you all the time. If you got a question right then, if I got 10 seconds to give a quick answer, that's when they need it. That's when they got the feedback and they're good to go. And again, the appreciation from the students has been fantastic. Anyways, flipping back to kind of the other way of Hangouts here. Got a quick video, so I did a screenshot of the Hangout. So this is Allison's grade 4 class, and so they've actually towards the end of their project now. They've built their structure, and they want to show their grade 10 peer mentors what's going on, get some feedback from them. So you can see my students down here in sort of class. I'm just going to put over 30 seconds, just kind of get easy access to each other.
Hi. We're going to take you on a tour of the pyramid. So, inside we're still working on it, but right now we've got some hieroglyphics up. We're going to be putting the sarcophagus in. We're going to be holding the sarcophagus in. There's the bottom and the top. We painted it in metallic gold. Also, there's the mummy that we're going to use. So that's going to be inside, and there.
Again, really simple too. It's so simple to set up. But again, it could have really. I do exit interviews with my students in here for like almost to a person. This was their favorite experience. The idea of having an authentic experience where they had something that was of value. They were working with these grade 4s, and the learning from them was fantastic. I did like some exit interviews with them on what they took out of this, and they were talking about how they're writing and improve by reading the grade 4 stuff and picking out things and they wanted to help them through it. From a communication standpoint, when they did their presentation, going through and helping the grade 4s talk about their presentation skills. Usually when I give out a rubric and say this is what I'm going to be assessing you on, they think about it for 3 minutes, okay? And that's like my experience throughout the term. When they knew they had to mentor these grade 4s through oral communication skills though, they were going back and pulling up files that I had given them 2 months ago on the things that they should have been practicing, and they were becoming experts on it now to help these students through that process. assessment, as teachers, assessment is a huge thing here. And I really think it's like, we get caught in this dynamic. The big change for my practice since I adopted Google Application is the whole focus for me has been on formative assessment. And we talk about the idea of formative and summative. I think that formative is not easy, it can be very, very time consuming as a teacher, but that's really where you get at improvement from your students. And again, GAFE has made it practical for me. One thing I kind of shifted to is I'm doing less assignments, but spending much more time on them. So again, the English teacher writing. If we're looking at an essay, instead of having to write 3 essays throughout the term, or 4 essays throughout the term, I'm going to cut that down to 2. But we're going to spend way more time on it. They're going to have a draft. It's going to be a constant back and forth between the student, the peer editor, and myself. And so again, you're going to spend an extra 2 weeks on that writing process, but it's really getting deep down at it. Again, that's looking at that revision history, seeing the evolution of my students' work in their writing, and going back and forth, giving them feedback. Are they using it? Are they understanding it? And that, again, I wasn't always there. That's a big transition for me. I used to do teachers like, okay, here you go, here's the feedback. We'll come back to a similar assignment 2 months from now. And make sure you remember the feedback I gave you, and make sure you practice that. But we're not spending that time in class. That's been a big, big shift for me. The idea of personalization in it too. Specific comments to each one, looking at evolution, having that tracking of it, have the students reflect on their learning by having it in the cloud is so simple now. Most students aren't carrying themselves around before. Yeah.
Are you semestered?
Yes. I have experience in non-semestered. I taught in the UK for a year, was a student in non-semestered, but yes, right now I'm semestered as well.
Do you find it hard sometimes fitting in those kind of things? Like the academic, especially, curriculum sometimes, like To Kill a Mockingbird, for example, that is a word to like.
For sure. It's like I said, like the big shift for me in my practice, in my first year, like when I first assignment to Kill a Mockingbird I showed you, I did. I thought it was very tough and it's like so time consuming and I didn't have enough time. And again, the shift for me as a teacher has been less actual assessments, doing the same thing. So instead of doing 6 paragraphs this term, we're going to do 3. We're going to spend way more time on those 3, and we're going to go back and forth on the block. And again, anecdotally, I've seen good improvements for my students in their scores, and I'm much more happy with, again, even as a teacher, I can like add when I'm coming down to talk about growing for success, and making that professional judgment in a term, not just having a mathematical formula. I'm pulling up with one click the first paragraph they did at the start of the year, and the second one, or the third one at the end of the year, and looking at those differences. I think it's a really important thing to think about as a teacher now too. And again, GAFE makes it much more easier to do that. Like example I gave, like say you had 3 paragraphs throughout the term that you worth 5% each. Okay, if that's the way you weighted them, and they got 60 on the first one, 70 on the second one, and 80 on the third one. That's really important to consider. And that student's really an 80 student that they were demonstrating this full 80 level, but that their mark on paragraph writing is aggregating up to a 70, which is not really fair to the student at the end, but it's really hard for us to get around. Again, GAFE made that much more simple for me to kind of get there and make those adjustments. Classroom experience, Google Classroom users, there. Hear different things about it. It's definitely not an LMS. Depending on what you want to get out of it, it's not there. I absolutely love it. I think if you're using Google Docs or Google stuff with your students, the idea of being able to post an assignment, go make a copy for each of your students, the automatic naming from a student's standpoint, the sharing back and forth, it's been, again, it hasn't changed what I'm doing in my class, it just took out 40 steps for me, and it's in one click now. Traditionally, I was before, it's like, okay, I had a website, I would post myself as a Google Doc, as a view-only file, and again, sort of this very quickly, but my students would pop on my website, they would go find this worksheet I want to be working on, they would open it, they would go file, make a copy, they'd click the blue share button, they'd type in my email address, sometimes they would get it wrong, we'd get the file, I would have to go back into my shared folder, click like 30 different assignments, throw them into an assignment folder, go back and track them that way, and it was an absolute mess. Okay, and I did that because that was my teaching practice. I thought that was good pedagogy, and I loved using Google Docs. And when they put a classroom, I was like, thank you so much. And Doctopus is out there, and I'm a big Doctopus fan. I think for the average teacher, though, Doctopus is a bit, it's a lot of work to get there. Again, I was happy to do it, but I've got most of my English department using Classroom, and they absolutely love it. For sharing back and forth, tracking for students, tracking for you, just the idea of seeing who's handed something in and who hasn't throughout the term. I can fire a mass email to 5 students who hadn't finished the assignment from 3 weeks ago, send it out to them in one shot. It's a fantastic, fantastic tool. If you're not, and you can use it without, if you're not using Google Docs, but there's about 100 other things you can use too. But if you're using Google, doing form of feedback, sharing back and forth, Classroom is an amazing tool. I want to talk about Chromebooks too. I've been very fortunate. I started off an early pilot project with school board, and as Mark mentioned, we've got a lot. I think Mark is about 3,000 or 4,000 1,000 or more now. And again, big shift from a Chromebook standpoint. Who's using Chromebooks or has Chromebooks on the board? Okay, some of that. Big mind shift for sure for people, the idea of like it being completely web-based. And it's scary for some people to get kind of through that mindset, like what, it's not a physical program, it's not on a hard drive, why is that a good idea? For me, it's a fantastic idea, especially if like being passed around from student to student. My students absolutely love them because they're not person-centric. iPads are fantastic tools in the classroom, but they're really built for a single user. Chromebooks, doesn't matter who's on. If we have different classes coming through, we've got mobile cards that are booked out and moving around through our school. And from the student standpoint, it might sound like a very small thing, but they type in their school username and password, and it's personalized. It brings up their desktop background. When they click on Gmail at the bottom, it opens their Gmail. They go into Drive, it's right there for them. It doesn't matter which one they jump on. Key thing that again has to be, and this is one conversation I always push to Mark, Mark's just kind of like ask questions to me, like Mark, if you do nothing else, make sure you've got reliable Wi-Fi in your schools. That is the key thing, like that is either the pro or bane of my existence, is the Wi-Fi in your school. And I have teachers come to me like, I tried this, it was fantastic, and then the Wi-Fi died, and I never do it again. And if you don't have reliable Wi-Fi, these things, again, at the school level aren't great. Personal level, there's a lot that you can do offline with them. From a school standpoint, not as good. Alright, just kind of finish off here, I'd like mentioning, it was a time, just a few of the favorite things I love using in class. Who's used Kaizena? Have you used Kaizena before? Alright, I'm going to show you this one because I'm a big fan of this, and probably I've seen some other websites here, I haven't heard anyone talk about Kaizena yet. Absolutely love Kaizena. So I'm going to jump out here. So if I go to my drive, Kaizena is an extension, you can add it to Chrome. Or to your drive. It works in conjunction with Google Drive. Okay? So just jump my drive here and just put a little desktop in here. So once you add it, you can right click here, you can add certain things in, but I'm going to open with in Kaizena because I've added it on. And it's going to jump out to a separate site. So it's like a Google Doc. In Kaizena, you can actually, it just pulls the text over. So this is like a Google document. You can see what's shared with, so I'm just using like my personal account, my work account right now, but usually this would be a student yourself as a teacher. Okay? Once it pops into Kaizena, it just pulls the document over. It's still tied, connected to your Google Doc, and it functions very much the same way as a Google Doc. Okay? I spelled the Elvis lyrics, that terrible the Fox song, if you guys remember that from last year. A few different things you can do with Kaizena. And again, really, really cool. I love this. So, I showed you what I started off doing with my students was just kind of highlight something, and right click, click on comment, and that's even text comments down the side. In here for Kaizena, if I'm going to here and say, I'm going to click, drag, dog goes wolf, cat goes meow. Okay? And it pops up. I get a bunch of options now. The first thing I can do, this is brand new, not to new you because you haven't been Kaizena before, but the thing is I can tag as a highlight. So if there's something specific I want to look as a tag, it's like tagging anything else. So I might tag punctuation, I might tag other things, oral communication, whatever, comma splice, whatever it wants to be, I can tag and add a tag to that. For here, it's going to say it might go intro. Okay, an intro. And then I get this box here. So right based on that, I have specific tags of things I'm looking for in my class. I get to mark it as level. Is there like a 1, 2, 3, or 4? So I'm going to say, okay, just a quick highlight here, really quick clip. I'm going to go and tag this as, say, a level 2. Okay? It's there. The next thing, that's just a really quick highlight. I can create those, and once I create an intro, I'll have a database of them there. So there's like 4 or 5 things I'm looking for from student work. They're right there for me. The next thing it gets to is I get these 3 options. I've got a little microphone here, a text box, or a link. And what they call them here is resources. So with the mic stand, if I click on mic, I actually get to leave an audio comment to my students. Depending on how descriptive you want to be with your feedback, this can be a massive time saver for you as a teacher. Okay? Because instead of for me typing out like a detailed paragraph of all things I want them to change and kind of their work, I have to click the mic, I get to talk for 20 seconds, and I'm done. Okay? So I go in here, record, let's go testing, Elvis, I'm not really sure where you're going with this paragraph, dog goes wolf, cat goes meow, what the heck are you talking about? Right? And stop, and then that highlights going to say you're just like a dog. Okay, and then that audio's come in. So my student can come back to this document, they come in here, they go play. Let's go testing, Elvis, I'm not really sure where you're going with this paragraph, dog goes wolf, cat goes meow. what the heck are you talking about? Right? My students can listen to that feedback and they can jump back on, they can leave an audio recording themselves to respond back, they can respond back by text, or they can just kind of come in here and see that, okay? So really cool audio feedback. If you're a language teacher, think about how important this can be from your French classroom, pronunciation, okay? Even oral communication standpoint, you could have a document, say a script for your students to read to you, you could listen to them reading through it, and then even if they get earlier grades, if the pronunciation's off again, they can actually listen to you read through it themselves, get the differences there. If you're doing ESL, you're really cool. But again, even for me as an English teacher, not working in that space, it's a nice time saver for me. And again, differentiation. Some students are much better auditory than they are in text. Okay, if they can listen to your instructions, I've had students come back to me and say, so I do both. I'll just do text sometimes, I'll just do audio sometimes. I've got some students who prefer the audio, and so for them, I just do audio comments and say, honestly, Bieronski, the text stuff doesn't work for me. Cool, let's leave audio for now, and that's differentiation for you. Another say here. Here. Right now, they just did an update too. This right now, it's only Google Docs. They just did an update to also Google Presentations. So you can highlight if you have slides from a presentation standpoint. You can also do this from a presentation standpoint. They're working on spreadsheets and stuff as well. So yeah, you can tag here. I'm going to skip this if I don't want to. But say if I go in here, we've got say body text. Okay, so from body text in here, so I can say okay, you're level 3, and then I can go here. So the second option, I can do a text comment here and just type in some feedback as well. Same as Google Doc. Text you that to the side. If you want that feature, it's there. I would just use Google Docs. That's what we're Google anyways. Okay? I'm going to say, nice use of I'll spell that wrong. Okay? But nice use of automatic there. Okay? Last thing, this is really cool from a differentiation standpoint. If I highlight here, another piece, the third option I get, I'm going to skip the tag highlight this time. I got this option of what they call resources. Okay? What is great about this is you can build your own resource bank for your students. So the common things all your students go with, whatever you're teaching. So for me as an English teacher, I can do a whole bunch of things. Okay? I might do comma splices, okay? Punctuation, a variety of things. The great thing about this, so if I go in here, and again, I was playing around this earlier, if I start typing in, I put C, and these are two just added. So I got MLA basics, and again, my students get MLA wrong all the time. Okay, I've also got comma splices there. So I see I built this data bank. If I click on comma splices, so for me is I typed in, I literally highlighted, clicked on resource, I put in C, I see comma splice, click on comma splice, I click attach resource. From my student's standpoint now, they can come in here and they click on the highlighted piece, and here's this comma splice, it's got a link. If they click that link, it jumps out to a YouTube video I found. So simple, easy differentiation standpoint here. Just skip this ad for them. Okay, here's the resource I found online. It can be a link to anything. So it can be to your notes in class, it can be a video you found online. So again, think about that, just how much time. So this is from my student's standpoint. Okay.
So what we're going to talk about are...
In the past for me, I would write out like literally 4 paragraphs explaining what a comma splice is, how they made that error, what's wrong, here's what I want you to do, and if they're looking at this like, what the heck are you talking about probably, okay? For me, I think that was like, well, honestly, I spent about 5 minutes typing up those 4 paragraphs explaining to them what the problem was. Here, I made 2 clicks, I typed in C, I clicked on comma splice, and I was done. And from my student's standpoint, they come in here, they click that link, and now it's a personalized video out to them. So you can take some like 20 minutes, half an hour, just build some resources, find something, again, you can any link online. Video is great, your own resources. So like we talk about quotation integration, sometimes I just link back to the note I gave them in class. So they, instead of like trying to find that or flip through their binder or find that note from 2 weeks ago, it's immediate for them. Here's an error I made, it's highlighted by my teacher, I need to know how to do this because I got it wrong, click, and then there's the resource I need. Okay, fantastic, it's mind-blowing. Alright, so that's Kaizen, that's the basics there. You can just do it right from DOS and have it shared that way. And again, so when I finish off here, where am I? Got 2 tabs open. Nope. From Kaizen here. When you're done, all it does, oh, sorry, it actually popped up here. Just so you know, this is like a link to this document has been automatically shared in the comments section. For your students to get here and where it goes, I'm going to get out of Kaizen here. If I go back to my drive now, it says share document students, so I can pop this open here. They won't see the comments in here. They need to go to Kaizen and do that. But they just click on the comments box. It says, hi, I'm Andrew, and using Kaizen, you do high quality feedback. They click the link and it goes back to Kaizen and they can see your feedback there.
Create that though.
It does it automatically. Kaizen does that for you because it's paired with Drive. So I went into my Drive, I right click, go open with Kaizen.
Okay.
And then when the student, they don't have to worry about finding the link or going somewhere on the website. They can just go back to their doc, click on comments, and then from here, if I click it, it jumps right back out to the doc. Here's my highlights, here's the feedback I gave. So it's a really nice pairing with Google Drive using Google Drive for students. You can also, through Kaizen, you can actually create boxes too. So you can actually have a link to a Dropbox. You're using a website or Google Class or something, you can give them a link and create a Dropbox for an assignment, and students can just go and drop things in there and say, I want feedback on this. And so it just, if you go to the box, you see how many students have submitted, and you want feedback, you get to what you want to do. I'm more fond of it if my students going right through Drive in Classroom, so that's how I've used it. You can actually just create a box on Kaizen itself. Students don't need accounts for it at all, just the teacher has the accounts. Students just drop things in their share. Or a few of my other favorites. Anyone use Permanent Clipboard? Permanent Clipboard is pretty cool. So it's a little extension up here. Again, this is all from Web Store. I'll give you guys, I think I had a really quick start. I'll give you a link to the presentation slides here. Mark tweeted as well, so you can find links to these. Permanent Clipboard. Up here, it's a little extension. You can see it here if I click on it. And it's actually just pulling up what I highlighted recently. But if I go back to, it's actually here are my own notes for the session today. If I highlight something here and I right click and I want to leave a comment, if I go over here and I right click again, I've got this thing that says insert from Permanent Clipboard. And what you can do is you can build a database of comments. So again, instead of me typing out a paragraph of resource, and I find myself doing MLA. It's like, here's the MLA. So remember to double space your work, put in a title that's centered, make it creative, do all this. So down here, if I click on Insert from Clipboard, and here are the things I've created. Okay, so I'm going to click on MLA, and then there's my comment for me right there. It's a database of it. So if you have common feedback you're giving to your students all the time, you just build a database once, and from here I might come in here and do some personalization still. I've got the basics, but maybe I mentioned like how to set our title, and they have that. I delete that out very quickly, but it's saving me a ton of time to giving feedback to the students. So that's Permanent Clipboard. Yeah.
Is there an extension, because a lot of these are like Turnitin, what we're using.
Yeah.
Is there an extension to detect plagiarism?
Not, sorry?
Revision history.
Yeah, so I mean, you can see I use revision history. So
plagiarism from other online like essays that have been submitted on that topic.
Churn is the best one for it. So out there is a whole thing. I'm just paid. For me, like I have a good feel for my students. You said revision history. Like if I'm concerned about something, I'm gonna look at the revision history, see like where it was before, what I'm concerned about, and then if I see a paragraph that was just pasted in 1 second, that's obviously not their work.
Oh, okay, so you can see that it's based
Right, so I just like revision history like down to the second pretty much, like minute to minute. So if I'm like, I can just look at the others, like, okay, how are you in your rough draft process? And then all of a sudden there's like some okay writing, all of a sudden there's a beautiful paragraph here like a second later. That's a conversation having with students. And then I'll just like highlight, right click, copy, paste into Google itself, and I find the article they use right away.
Okay.
So, tab scissors, tab glue, anyone know that one? All right, tab scissors, tab glue, another favorite. Up here, so if I'm on 2 sessions here, I've got this little scissors I've added on, so it's an add-on from the web store. I've gone to digital rubrics. For like, if I want to see my student work and have a rubric right beside it as a digital rubric, if I click tab scissors, and it's actually not going to work because I'm on a data projector here, and it's VGA, it doesn't play nice. But on your computer, what it does, it actually cuts your first tab and your second tab into an automatic splits it like half and half automatic. Because I just spend like a minute of dragging and kind of moving back, and then click on tab glue and just paste the 2 tabs back together. So it's a nice way to take 2 tabs you have open and just automatically split screen. So again, you can't see it because it's coming VGA to the data projector and it's kind of messing up here. But that's what it's doing. Saw video notes yesterday. This video, but again, if I'll go back and show the link for you here. There it is. If you want a presentation slides, there's a link there. That's basically it for us. Any questions? No. All right. Thanks a lot for coming. Appreciate it.